It doesn't take a genius.
Ramsey!
Hello, Mike Marshall. How are you?
Man, I am doing fantastic, sir. And I must say, the sweater vest and tie, I had no idea it had gotten this formal.
Long story, but it's not worth telling. Yes, I'm wearing a skinny 80s tie from the 80s and a sweater vest, and here we are. And I do love Elvis Costello and other things about New Wave, so it fits.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, I thought, take on me, aha. That was just popped right into my
I'm not offended. I am not offended.
great song, one hit wonder. Yeah. For you young people, look it up.
No, they had a second hit. It was a minor hit. Something about on TV. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with what our two fans are looking for.
Ramsey, we got sidetracked.
Oh, crap. It
Man.
was a typical whirlwind moment for us. Our day-to-day living is often about sharing trivia with each other and just getting sucked right into it, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. So the whirlwind comes along with our encouragement, I might add. We kind of
Right.
get the whirlwind going, and then we allow it to pick us up, and it takes us away from what's important and drops us
Yes.
off into the trivial.
My goodness, that was well done.
And we spend a good amount of time in the trivial.
We sure do.
It's fun.
I can think of three things I want to say right now, and none of them are the important task of what we're doing here. Mike, what are we doing here? What's the point of this?
Squirrel.
Right.
Yeah, we're here to talk about the 4 disciplines of execution.
Yeah.
And so when we say the 4 disciplines of execution, you can almost hear people clicking away. Because who wants discipline and execution?
Right.
And
Right.
now there's 4 attributes of it.
Yeah.
Who needs that in their life?
Right.
So come to find out, what we've discovered as coaches, both personal and organizational coaches, what we've discovered is everyone we meet needs the 4 disciplines
Yeah.
of execution.
Yeah. I would just point out that people know they need it. They don't want to talk about discipline and they don't want to talk about execution, but you and I know from having done this podcast for 30 some weeks now that our most popular episodes, the ones that are downloaded by people all over the place, have to do with habits in the title of the episode. So disciplines are habits, right? This is something you may not want to do, or it doesn't come naturally to you, or it doesn't pop into your conscious mind, but it's something that you want to continue to do, and it takes you to a new place. And that's what coaches do, right? We are not sports coaches, we are stage coaches, helping people get from here to there. Well, to get to there, you're going to have to deal with these disciplines to get you to that new place. So that's why this is important.
Well, I think you're onto it. And so, yeah, you could even call this the 4 disciplines of habits.
Yeah.
and,
Right.
and it would still work. So,
Yeah.
So either
Or the
way,
4 habits of getting things done.
yeah,
It's
that would be a perfect, yeah.
Yeah, I love this stuff.
I think we should rewrite the book immediately. And for those of you out there, yeah, it is a book.
Yes.
Wonderful book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, which on cue, Mr. Ramsey holds up.
I just happen to have it with me.
Yes.
Phenomenal book. Great website that they have for the book. It's the Franklin Covey people that have put this out, and just really tons of video support out there for it, and lots of resources. But this is a manual. This is like a field manual, frankly, for how to get things done in your organization.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely a book version of a how-to video. So
Yeah.
and there are some, like you said, some how-to videos out there. So why are we talking about the 4 disciplines of execution at the end of the year?
Well, I have several clients who are going through the experience of doing their strategic planning for the year. And a lot of organizations do forecasting meetings and things like that round about now. I had forgotten about one of the things that makes the four disciplines so powerful until one of my clients, the business owner of the organization, brought it up last week. And he said, I like this better than a forecasting meeting because this is targeted and specific. And it's not just us pulling a number out of the air and saying, we're going to hit that. It's things that we can have under our control to get done and get to the results that we want. So it is a great time to be thinking about, especially the first of the four disciplines. We'll get into the description here in a moment, but it's a great time to think through what exactly do I want to execute on and why, because we got a whole year in front of us. We got a blank slate. Now's a great time to think that through.
Oh yeah, and we see this so often. You know, there's the forecast, the mandated forecast meeting that we've done for decades, centuries, and everybody puts up these numbers. Here's what I'm going to do next year in my department, and then they take the piece of paper and then they file it away until the following December.
Yep.
And then they get it out and go, how do we do? And everybody
Yep.
goes, what is that?
Yep.
Those are the numbers you put down at the 365 days ago that you were going to hit. And there's no follow-up. And it just, it's this incredible weird exercise. At some point, somewhere in the brain, they knew that setting a goal was important. But beyond that, it just seems to be nebulous. It seems to be vague on what you're supposed to do after you set this wildly important goal.
Yeah. So if I were to take a stab, Mike, without talking about specifically the four disciplines yet, but if I were to take a stab at that organization you're talking about, where they pick a number and they file it away and they look at it a year later, I think I would tell them, if you use the four disciplines, first off, you won't just pick a number, you'll pick the most important number.
Mm-hmm.
Second off, you'll spend a lot of time focusing on things that are actually under your control. Third off, you and your people will know whether or not you're winning all year long, every week. And fourth, your people will be involved in this and be on board with trying to hit those objectives that you talked about at the beginning of the year. So huge amounts of upside in using this approach. And they're just disciplines. They're just habits that you get into that you really can learn and put into place. They're common sense once you hear them laid out.
Oh yeah. And we were asking these coaching questions before we came across the four disciplines.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you go, hey, what's your goal for next year? And they'd spurt out some goal and you go, man, that's fantastic. And then as great coaches, we'd have to ask, so how are you going to get there?
Right. And then crickets.
Yeah. Well, I haven't thought that through. Or we'd ask the follow-up coaching question. So, are your people aware of this number? And do they know what they need to do to contribute to getting there?
Yeah.
No. So yeah, sometimes, yeah, the leaders have the forecast meeting and then it never gets shared with the people.
Right.
Or it gets shared with the people and they have a hearty laugh. That number is ridiculous. And then we all agree it's ridiculous. And then we go about our day-to-day lives, working in the business.
Yeah, that's it. And we do that because there's plenty of stuff to do. So that's what the book describes as the whirlwind. Why don't you explain this concept of the busyness whirlwind?
Well, I happen to have a diagram behind me.
Oh, you do? I noticed this.
We have our day-to-day job, the day job, as they call it.
Yep.
And it's filled with urgent things.
Yeah.
Things that we believe are urgent. And so the urgent things kind of sweep you up. That's the upset customer, the report that's due today, the last minute meetings, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
On this side, we have all the tasks, the important things. And these are those goals that we forecast and those activities that maybe they're new activities, things we want to add that we know that if we do these things, then we will be more successful. And so while we have this idea of what we want to achieve, every day we walk in, and especially in the world of retail,
Oh,
whirlwind just scoops you up. And at the end of the day, and I can't tell you how many managers, how many leaders have told me this, at the end of the day, they're completely exhausted, they're completely worn out, they know they didn't have a minute, they didn't even get to lunch, and they have no idea what they accomplished today,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Or they'll say, I didn't get a thing done today.
Hmm.
And what they're saying is, I didn't get anything that's going to move the business, move the department forward done today. And
That's right.
so I was firefighting.
Yeah.
I was battling these blazes, trying to get myself out of the whirlwind. And yeah, I worked really hard. But was I doing the things that are important to the long-term success of the organization?
Yeah. Another way to look at that is reactive versus proactive, because
Mhm.
my stores that I call on that are retail, they don't need me to come in and give them things to do. They've got plenty to do, and some of it important, some of it not so important, but definitely urgent. The customer comes through the door, we're gonna service the customer. That's just going to happen whether I'm there or not. They're going to still go through a sales process or a service process or what have you. Well, that's all stuff that you're doing anyway. And so the way the book describes it is that the important things are that they talk about setting a goal, and they say that those goals exist at the corner of really important and not going to happen on its own.
Mhm.
And that's where we're at, is what's the new proactive activity I need to be involved in to accomplish that thing that we're really needing as an organization.
Oh, you're so right. And so I think what we should do is maybe lay out what are the 4 disciplines of execution, and let all our people know that are listening, both of them, that the next 2 podcasts. So there's 4 disciplines. We're going to cover 2 disciplines per podcast. So this
Yeah.
will be a 3-part series, and so we'll kind of lay that out. So what are the 4 disciplines of execution?
Yeah, so we'll quickly bring up those 4, and like you said, we'll cover them in more depth in the next 2 episodes. The first one is to focus on the wildly important.
I'm writing this down.
Focus on the wildly important. Now, the book calls them wildly important goals, WIG, WIG. So you're setting a WIG for your team. When you're going through this process, what's important. You might be tempted to say, well, we got to sell. We just got to make money. And Mike, I know you've heard that. I'm curious, what's your comeback to that?
Yeah, fantastic. How are you going to do it?
Uh,
Yeah,
right.
well, we're going to just do well. How well is that working for you? And then I usually lead it back to the goal. Will
Hmm.
doing what you've always done get you to this goal, which typically tends to be a larger goal? We're
Yeah.
always going to grow by 10%. We're always going to sell X more units. It's always more.
Right.
And so, okay, if we keep doing everything we did this past year, we'll probably get what we got this past year, which won't
Right.
get you to your goal.
Right.
And
So stores that organizations that are taking this seriously, it's okay. How we're going to get there is we're going to enter a new product segment, or we're going to get our team to a higher level of performance, something that they can measure, that allows for that growth. It's kind of like, and we maybe have talked about this in the past, but it's like weight loss. I'm going to lose weight. Well, that's not a wildly important goal, right? Because I mean, frankly, the next time I go to the bathroom, I've technically achieved my goal, right?
Mhm.
I do way less. Is that good enough? Well, probably not, right? So what makes that important? This weight loss. Okay, now we're going to get more specific about, well, I need to be able to play with my kids, or I'm on the road too much, and I know I'm getting unhealthy food in my diet, or whatever it is. Now we can get specific on what that weight loss is about.
Yeah, if I hit these numbers in my blood test, then I can come off of this pill.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hear that a lot. People want to get off of a certain medication that they're on because they've made bad decisions or they've made no decision and just allowed their health to happen to them.
Right.
So
Right.
having this wildly important goal that's completely focused, and it's we talked about this SMART. It's specific and measurable and attainable and realistic, and it's got a deadline. It's got a timeline.
Right.
So yeah, when you look at some of the goals that we see in these multi-million-dollar organizations,
Mhm.
they're not SMART goals, and they or sometimes they have way too many goals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna achieve these 17 metrics by the
Yep.
end of the year.
No, you're not.
No. If as they say in Indiana, if you're chasing two rabbits, you're not going to catch either one. So
Right.
Even two goals makes it difficult. And so yeah, focusing on the wildly important goal, and
Okay.
then it goes to the next step, which is act on the lead measures. And
Yeah.
and
Lead
so,
measure.
yeah, the lead measures. And so there are lead and lag measures, and we'll dive into these. But the simple explanation is the lag measure is what the scale says in your weight loss journey. The lead measure are the things that you can impact: calorie intake, exercise per, calories burned, things like that. So lead measures are the things that when you add them all up equal the lag measure. And
Yeah.
the lag measure needs to feed and ensure that the wildly important goal becomes closer to happening.
Yeah, perfect. And you'll notice that description was a lot shorter than our description of the first discipline. That's because when you get the first discipline down and you have figured out what's important, a lot of the rest of this process just kind of writes itself. I mean, it becomes very apparent what you need to be about, what you need to be measuring, et cetera, to get there. So anyway, so the first two disciplines, focus on the wildly important, act on the lead measures. The third discipline, keep a compelling scoreboard. Keep a compelling scoreboard. And this is where the rubber for some folks really hits the road, because now they have to put it down on paper, maybe even on the wall. And suddenly you can't just say words and say, we're gonna do more this year. That's just all there is to it. Well, if that's all there is to it, then there's not much to write on the board. But what are you going to track? What are going to be the things up there that let your team and whether or not you're winning?
Right. And yeah, when you think about a vague goal, right? We're gonna grow sales. Your scoreboard can't just be a smiley face that gets a bigger smile the more sales. It just
Right.
It just can't be that. A scoreboard, and we'll dive deeply into this because this is my favorite part. The scoreboard, yeah, there's some rules that you can apply from sporting activities. And so the interesting thing about scoreboards is most people believe a scoreboard at a sporting event is for the fans. It's not. The scoreboard, if you notice at all sporting events, is visible to the players on the floor.
Great point.
So the people in the game always know where they stand, and then they actually become self-leading because they know that I've got this many seconds left, we're up or down by this many points. I can change behavior based upon having instant access to information, which is something we almost never see in the organizations that we work with.
It's almost the opposite of a dashboard, right? The coach may have a whole bunch of metrics that he's tracking, in practices and so on. But when we're in the middle of the game, when the whirlwind's going on, how do we make sure we focus on what's the most important thing? Well, look at that scoreboard. It tells you whether or not we're winning and what we have left to do.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll dive deep into building a great scoreboard.
Beautiful.
And the last one is create a cadence of accountability. And so this one flies in the face of, we picked a number, put it in a drawer, and then looked at it a year later.
Right.
So 4 disciplines of execution, this is where the habit comes in. And so the habit of regularly updating progress, regularly revisiting, what our lead goals or lead activities have been, what we commit to and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's a pattern of accountability but it's shared accountability, and it's a time for celebration as well as recommitment. And so we'll talk about what goes into creating that cadence, or substitute the word habit at this point, that makes this really, really work.
Yeah, and I, you just pointed out to me, just by the way you said that, it is a pattern of accountability. A pattern is a habit. It's a discipline. Maybe that is the name of this episode, is that we have habits for accountability, habits of accountability, because the accountability word is something I hear all the time from my clients. I wish we had more accountability. They need to be more accountable. I need to be more accountable. Well, this whole process is leading you toward, I know that I'm being accountable and holding my people accountable to the right things. That's ultimately what you get if you play this game all the way through. And it is a little bit of a game, right? We'll talk in the next episode about the first two disciplines, setting the rules of the game. And then we'll follow up talking about sort of how to play it with this scoreboard and this accountability meeting. So that's what excites me about this. I think now that you say that, I think that's what it's about, is that it's a habit. It's something that our listeners want to hear about. And this is a habit about being accountable to the important things.
Mm-hmm. Well, before Four Disciplines of Execution, there was a book called The Great Game of Work. And it had elements of this. It wasn't as clearly defined as Four Disciplines of Execution, but many of the ideas were there. So this is kind of a distillation of some ideas that have been around for a little while. And so I think the folks who are listening, all you have to think about is are you caught up in the whirlwind? Are you working on what's urgent instead of what's important? Have you set great goals? Do you know what your lead measures are? Do you have a scoreboard? Is everybody in your organization aware of where you want to go and how they can contribute to you getting there? And then how frequently are you updating and showing progress to that goal? And so if you're thinking, man, I'm struggling in one or more of these four areas, then stay tuned, and we'll put the link below for the next two episodes as they become available. So yeah, stay tuned. I think this is, and we've seen this. This is a game changer for organizations. It's a game changer for people, whether you apply it to your personal life or your business life. Yeah, this thing changes lives.
100%. I heard one of the authors interviewed, and he said that they're working on an individual version of 4DX. I don't think it's out yet, but I mean, who hasn't thought? Who have read this book? Who hasn't thought, wow, this is really about personal life as much as it is about the team. So we hope this is valuable to everybody out there.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, I think you're absolutely right. Now, that would be a powerful addition to this, to the Four Disciplines of Execution, to the original book. All right, so I think this was a fantastic talk, fantastic introduction to the topic. And I know that our announcer was as impressed as we are with ourselves. So let's see what he has to say.
He's threatened to send us more,
We definitely need, more ridicule.
So go ahead and tweet that, or share it any other way you want. As always, there are no rights reserved, no trademarks, no copyrights. Share it if you want to. And join us next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius.
That's good enough.